Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, could be articles, research, even our own notes, and we really boil them down. We want to give you the key insights, a genuine shortcut to being well-informed.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. And today, well, we're diving into a book that's just incredibly profound, so enduring. It's not just military folks studying it anymore, is it?
Oh, not at all. You've got CEOs, politicians, even sports coaches looking at it.
Right. Imagine this text was written thousands of years ago, but honestly, the insights, they feel so fresh, almost like they could have been written yesterday.
It's truly remarkable. It's fundamentally a guide to strategy, to conflict resolution, and even just understanding people, human nature, all distilled from ancient Chinese thinking.
And it just keeps resonating, doesn't it? In basically any field where you have competition or big decisions to make.
Precisely.
So today we're doing our deep dive into one of history's most, iconic works, The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
That's the one.
And our mission for you today is, to unpack Sun Tzu's core ideas. We want to see how these ancient principles can give you a unique perspective, maybe even a shortcut for navigating today's world.
Whether that's a tough meeting, a complex project,
or even just personal challenges you're facing, we're going to pull out the most sort of actionable bits from this timeless text.
And Sun Tzu, he doesn't really waste time getting to the point. He kicks off by saying, the art of war is of vital importance to the state.
Pretty serious stuff.
Yeah. He calls it a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. It really sets the stage. Strategic thinking isn't just like an intellectual game. It has real consequences.
That's a powerful way to start. And right away, he lays out these 5 constant factors, he calls them. They govern war, but really it feels like they apply to any big undertaking.
Exactly.
They don't feel like just military things. It's more like a whole picture of any complex situation you might be in. Could you walk us through those?
Sure. And what's fascinating right from the start is how Sun Tzu grounds strategy in both the tangible stuff and the intangible.
Okay.
So first he lists the moral law. This is about the people being completely aligned with their leader, following him no matter what, not scared by danger. It's about shared purpose, that spirit.
I got it, like unity.
Then heaven. This signifies things like night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. Basically the environmental factors, the big picture context you can't really control.
Okay, the external conditions.
Next is earth. This covers distances, danger versus security, open ground, narrow passes, the chances of life and death. So the actual terrain, the physical environment you're operating in.
Makes sense.
Fourth is the commander. This represents key virtues: wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness, leadership character. And finally, method and discipline. This is the operational side. Organizing the army, ranks, supply lines, managing costs, the nuts and bolts.
Wow. So it's this whole package, isn't it? It's not just about having more soldiers or weapons. It's spirit, environment, terrain, leadership, and efficient operations.
Exactly.
So if we try to map that onto a modern battlefield, like, say, a company launching a new product, how does that work? Is moral law like the company culture?
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, moral law could absolutely be your company culture.
Yeah.
Or maybe even broader, like getting your whole team, your stakeholders, pulling in the same direction towards that shared vision.
Okay.
Heaven. That could be market trends, economic shifts, maybe new technology popping up, things you react to more than control.
Right.
Earth is your competitive landscape. Maybe your supply chain, how you get your product out there. The ground you're fighting on, so to speak. The commander is clearly leadership, embodying those virtues. Sun Tzu talks about wisdom, courage, etc. And method and discipline. That's your project management, your budgeting, how will you actually execute the plan.
So Sun Tzu basically says you need to understand all of these to win.
He's very clear. He who knows these factors will be victorious. He who knows them not will fail. It really comes down to doing a thorough assessment before you jump into action.
That idea of assessment leads us right into what he says about strategy itself, calculation and deception. Chapter 1, laying plans.
Right.
He says, the general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple ere the battle is fought. The general who loses a battle makes but few calculations beforehand. It sounds like success is more about the homework than the heroics.
Precisely. It really emphasizes that just rushing in without careful, detailed preparation, that's almost guaranteed to end badly.
And tied into that calculation is deception, which sounds a bit,
Controversial, maybe. But for Sun Tzu, it's absolutely central, his famous line, all warfare is based on deception.
And he gives really clear examples, doesn't he? Like, if you're able to attack, you should look unable. If you're using your forces, look inactive.
Yeah, or if you're close, make the enemy think you're far away. If you're far, make them think you're near.
It's about dangling bait, pretending to be disorganized to lure them in, or acting weak so they get cocky. It feels like a psychological game.
It absolutely is. It's all about managing perceptions. So if you think about that in today's world, what does that mean for you? Think about in a negotiation. Do you lay all your cards on the table right away? Or do you reveal information strategically? How do you use that spirit of deception? Maybe not outright lying, but perhaps strategic misdirection, or letting a competitor underestimate you without, wrecking trust in the long run.
That's a tricky balance.
The strategic tightrope Sun Tzu sort of challenges us to walk.
Okay, changing gears a bit. Chapter 2, Waging War, gets surprisingly practical about the cost of long conflicts and why speed matters.
It's very practical.
Sun Tzu gives this vivid picture of the financial drain, talking about 1,000 ounces of silver per day for an army, even down to the cost of small items such as glue and paint. It's a real reminder that war isn't just about flags and glory, it's got a balance sheet.
It really does. He goes into detail about how long campaigns wear down weapons, kill morale, exhaust your strength, drain your treasury, even how it impacts ordinary people funding it.
And his conclusion is blunt.
Absolutely unequivocal.
Right.
There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged war. It's just a harsh economic reality check.
But his solution is pretty clever. He says a skillful soldier does not raise a second levy, neither are his supply wagons loaded more than twice.
Right. Instead, bring war material with you from home, but forage on the enemy. Live off the land, so to speak, but the enemy's land.
He even gives a ratio for it. 1 cartload of the enemy's provisions is equivalent to 20 of one's own. It's all about using external resources instead of burning through your own.
He also advises treating captured soldiers well, keeping them. He calls it using the conquered foe to augment one's own strength.
That's fascinating.
That's really key insight. The goal is victory, swift victory, not getting stuck in endless campaigns. How often do we get bogged down in things in our jobs or lives that just drag on, draining energy and resources?
Too often, probably.
Sun Tzu teaches that strategic wisdom lies in being efficient, acting decisively, and finding resources wherever you can, maybe even from your opponent.
Okay, now this is where, for me, it gets really interesting. Chapter 3, Attack by Stratagem. This feels like the heart of Sun Tzu's genius.
Agreed.
The idea of supreme excellence, which he says consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting, winning without a fight. What does he actually mean? Is it just avoiding conflict?
Oh, it's much deeper than just avoidance.
Yeah.
The ideal, he says, is to take the enemy's country whole and intact, not to wreck it.
Okay.
And he lays out this hierarchy of good generalship, the absolute best. Balk the enemy's plans, stop their strategy before it even gets going.
Disrupt them early.
Exactly. Next best, prevent the junction of the enemy's forces, stop them from teaming up. Then, attack the enemy's army in the field. And the absolute worst strategy.
Let me guess. Storming the castle.
Basically, yeah. Besiege walled cities. He calls it disastrous. Takes months just to prepare, huge casualties. Just a terrible option if you can avoid it.
So the aim is always to find a smarter, less destructive way if possible, rather than just a head-on clash.
Precisely. And to achieve this kind of subtle victory, he gives us the 5 essentials for victory.
Right, let's hear them.
Okay. 1, win if you know when to fight and when not to fight. 2, win if you know how to handle both stronger and weaker forces. 3, win if your army has the same spirit, top to bottom.
Unity again.
4, win if you're prepared and wait to catch the enemy unprepared. And 5, win if you have military skill and the ruler doesn't interfere inappropriately.
That last one is interesting. Political meddling.
Very. And this all leads up to probably the most famous quote in the whole book.
Know the enemy and know yourself.
You need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle.
It just hammers home that point about self-awareness and intelligence, doesn't it? Knowing your own capabilities and weaknesses is just as important as understanding the opposition.
Absolutely. It's fundamental.
So, if supreme excellence is winning without fighting, can you think of a modern example? Maybe a business that sort of won a market without a direct price war, but by changing the game somehow, making the competitor's approach irrelevant.
That's a great question. You could argue some tech companies did that by creating entirely new ecosystems, making older models obsolete without a direct fight. Or maybe shifting customer preferences subtly.
And what about knowing yourself and the enemy today? With so much information swirling around, how do you actually do that effectively? It's about seeing the whole picture, right? Not just one piece.
Exactly. It's about synthesis, not just data collection. Which brings us nicely to the dynamic nature of strategy. Chapters 4 and 6, tactical dispositions and weak points and strong, really emphasize adaptability. Sun Tzu advises, "The good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy." So, solid defense comes first. Make yourself secure.
And then he uses that amazing water analogy.
Yes. Military tactics are like water. For water in its natural course runs away from high places and hastens downwards.
So the lesson is?
So in war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. Don't bang your head against their strongest point. Find the vulnerability.
And he develops that further, right? About water shaping its course.
He does. Water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground over which it flows. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe whom he is facing.
So no fixed plan survives contact with reality.
Pretty much. Therefore, just as water retains no constant shape, so in warfare there are no constant conditions. You have to adapt.
This feels like the core of being agile, flexible.
It really is.
Yeah.
So think about your own situation. What strong points, maybe ingrained habits or obstacles, are you constantly pushing against? Maybe without much success.
Good question.
And where are your weak points you need to shore up? Or where are your competitors' weak spots that maybe you could leverage? This fluid thinking is just vital today. Things change so fast.
Sun Tzu also gets quite personal about the leader, the commander, chapters 8 and 10, variation in tactics and terrain.
Yes. He really dissects the leader's role and character.
He says a general has to understand the advantages of varying tactics, but also critically know when not to follow the ruler's orders if they'll lead to failure. That sounds quite bold for his era.
Extremely bold. It puts situational awareness and responsibility squarely on the commander, even above blind obedience sometimes.
And then he lists these 5 dangerous faults the general might have.
Right. Recklessness, just rushing in. Cowardice, being afraid to act. A hasty temper, getting easily provoked. A delicacy of honor, being too easily insulted or concerned with reputation. And over-solicitude for his men caring too much to the point of inaction.
And he calls these ruiners to the conduct of war. Basically, personal flaws can sink the whole ship.
Directly. Says they lead to armies being overthrown and leaders killed. It's a stark reminder that our own character traits, unchecked, can totally undermine our strategies.
But he balances this with discipline, doesn't he?
Yes. Soldiers must be treated in the first instance with humanity, but kept under control by means of iron discipline. This is a certain road to victory. It's that balance.
So for you listening, what personal faults might be getting in the way of your strategic thinking? Maybe you tend to rush things,
right,
or maybe hesitate too much. And how do you find that balance in leadership, being compassionate, but also maintaining the necessary discipline to get things done?
It's that constant leadership challenge.
Definitely. And finally, there's this whole chapter, chapter 13, dedicated to the unseen battle, using spies.
Yeah, intelligence gathering. He actually starts with an economic argument for it, which is interesting.
How so?
He talks again about the huge daily cost of war, and then says to remain in ignorance of the enemy's condition simply because one grudges the outlay of 100 ounces of silver in honors and emoluments for spies is the height of inhumanity.
Wow. So not spending on intelligence is seen as a massive leadership failure.
A profound failure. He argues that full knowledge, knowing what's coming, can't come from spirits or guesswork or just looking at past patterns.
Well, where does it come from?
Knowledge of the enemy's dispositions can only be obtained from other men, which leads directly to using spies.
And he breaks them down into different types.
He does. 5 classes: local spies, people from the enemy's area, inward spies, enemy officials you've turned, converted spies, enemy spies you're now using, doomed spies, used to feed false info, expendable, and surviving spies, the ones who come back with real intel.
It's quite elaborate.
And he stresses, spies are a most important element in war, because on them depends an army's ability to move. Without good intel, you're blind.
So, translating this for us today, it's not literally about spies for most people, right?
Not usually, no. But it's absolutely about the strategic imperative of gathering good, diverse intelligence in any competitive situation. Before you make a big move, what information are you actually collecting? Who are your spies?
Meaning?
Your advisors, your network contacts, your market research, customer feedback, competitor analysis, all those sources. And crucially, are you really valuing that information? Are you investing time and resources in getting that foreknowledge?
Because, as Sun Tzu puts it, it's that foreknowledge that lets the wise sovereign and the good general strike and conquer and achieve things beyond the reach of ordinary men.
Exactly. So wrapping up our deep dive today, we've seen that Sun Tzu's Art of War is just so much more than a military handbook.
Definitely. It's this incredibly rich text on leadership, on being adaptable, on resourcefulness, and fundamentally on the power of information and strategy.
Yeah, we've looked at these ancient ideas: detailed planning, calculated deception, the need for speed, the wisdom of winning without fighting if you can, and the absolute necessity of good intelligence. And they still feel incredibly relevant.
It's striking how potent they remain. Sun Tzu really teaches us that victory often isn't decided on the battlefield itself, but long before, through that careful preparation and deep understanding.
Understanding all those constant factors and the fluid, water-like nature of any conflict or challenge.
So the final thought for you as you go forward: think about your own battlefield. Could be a challenge at work, a personal goal you're striving for, a complex decision you need to make. Which part of it could most benefit from applying some of Sun Tzu's wisdom? And maybe more importantly, how will you get that crucial foreknowledge, that deep understanding, to help secure your own success?